Hello, and welcome to our regular cybersecurity awareness training. We have some new information in this session, so be prepared to learn a lot of stuff. So let's go through our training uh, today. So what exactly is cybersecurity? Well, cybersecurity is used by both individuals, us at home, you at home, and organizations to protect against unauthorized access to data centers, computers, networks, any kind of digital information. And a strong cybersecurity strategy provides a good security posture against malicious attacks designed to access, alter, delete, or destroy an organization's data. And cybersecurity is also instrumental in preventing attacks that aim to disrupt a system or put a system out of service, which can cost tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars for organizations. So our cybersecurity mission here at the Borough of Westchester is to improve security for the organization by creating a culture of healthy suspicion. Think about that, healthy suspicion. Effective security culture today requires moving away from the old trust but verify model to a new verify then trust alternative. So remember that throughout this training. Verify then trust when you're dealing with email and text messages, phone calls, etc. The reality is that cybersecurity threats use many vectors, many ways to get into your system and compromise your security, including, and very often, spoofing communications from trusted sources. And we will talk about that in a little bit more so. Also, always maintaining a healthy level of skepticism goes a big way in protecting yourself. Leading from the top. All of us play an important role in preventing cybersecurity attacks. It is critical that each of us are properly prepared for our role in the security of our organization. Each of us has an important part to play. Of course, on the IT side of things, we strive to have the best systems that we can afford in place and that we maintain, monitor, and work with those systems. And this is a daily, very critical job. But all of us, every employee has a role to play too in protecting our organization. So one of these things to have everybody ready is, of course, everyone needs regular cybersecurity awareness training. Many organizations do not provide this nearly enough, if at all. And this is because no cybersecurity solution is 100% effective. No automated solution can be 100%, at least not yet. So we need to protect each other and protect our organization by using all the skills that we learn through training like this. Common sense, one of the very first things we learn about. Common sense is often not so common. Especially in the digital world, millions of people get conned every day. I'm sure you know people or someone that has had a security problem, a cybersecurity problem. So phishing for our personal information via email, text messages, and phone calls has become a part of our daily lives, both at the office and at home. So abandoning common sense can get you or your organization into a lot of trouble. Here's some common sense tips that will help you in your day-to-day digital world. First, stop and think before clicking on links or attachments you receive. Second, guess anything that sounds too good to be true. Stick to what you know and don't visit unfamiliar websites. Remember, this is an old piece of information. Everyone knows this. When you're on a website, make sure it has that lock on it. Make sure it has the S at the end, HTTPS. S is for security. If there's not a lock and an S on there, do not do any transactions, and I would just avoid that website at all costs. Don't click on pop-up warnings that appear on your screen. One of the spoofing ways of tricking people is to have a pop-up appear that says it's from Microsoft or from your security solution software. It can be your antivirus is out of date and things of that. Don't respond to unsolicited pop-up ads. Always check the email header and body for badly written names, domains, and grammatical errors. Yes, some of us, some of our coworkers and other professionals, sometimes we don't type or write our emails perfectly as we could. We use bad grammar. That's one thing. But you'll notice that through examples of some phishing emails I will show you later, bad grammar is almost always a part of the message. So be aware when you see things that just don't look or sound right. Ignore correspondences that attempt to panic you. If you have an email or a message that's asking you to do something right away, always take that with a lot of caution. One of the things that happens a lot now is you will get something that says, I need you to do this right away, and they spoof your manager's or your boss's name. It's very common. So even when you see someone's name that is, you work for, be very cautious about responding if it's asking you to do something that is unusual and immediate. If that is the case, go seek that person out face to face and ask, did you really want me to go buy those gift cards? He or she will probably tell you no. Never provide confidential information to individuals who contact you out of the blue, especially email and text messages and by phone. Be very cautious in turning over that type of information. Remember that a government agency, bank, or police department, or any other legitimate corporation will never contact you and ask you for sensitive information by email. Spread awareness to your friends and your family to help them keep them safe too. When you have training like this and things you've learned, you should share that information and spread the cyber love to everybody. If you want to, you can refer them to me. I'll be happy to talk to them. And always report anything that's fraudulent or suspicious that you're getting by any kind of messaging service to your IT department. Phishing 101. Phishing is a cybercrime in which a target or targets, that's me or you, or an organization, are contacted by email, telephone, or text message by someone posing as a legitimate institution. This is when you get messages that say they're from Microsoft, or UPS, or FedEx, or Google. They pick these companies to spoof because there's a institutional trust of these long-term companies that have been around for a long time. So they spoof them. So these are unsolicited messages. You can be pretty safe by ignoring them. When they steal this, if you do mistakenly respond to these with credit card information, passwords, personal information, they're going to use this to steal your information, steal your money, lock your files, put a ransomware in effect, causing a whole nother boatload of troubles for you or your company. So here are 5 common features of phishing email. Number 1, too good to be true. Like anything else, if something sounds like it's too good to be true, it probably is. A sense of urgency. When they're asking you to respond immediately, they want you to respond without thinking. That's what they really want. They want you to respond out of panic. You're not thinking. We all make mistakes when we don't pause and think a few moments. So a sense of urgency is always bad. Hyperlinks. Avoid hyperlinks, clicking on links in your email or on websites that you are not certain or legitimate. Same thing with attachments. When someone says you're an attachment, be sure that the person sending it to you is a legitimate person. If you're not, have IT investigate that file for you beforehand. Unusual sender. People you do not typically respond to or talk to, and you're getting these unsolicited messages from unknown people. Take great caution in these messages. Some tips for avoiding phishing scams. 1, keep informed about phishing techniques. All you have to do is watch the news. If you watch CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or just your local news, over a course of a week, you're going to hear something about some type of scam that is taking place. So stay informed about these campaigns that are happening. They always are. Information is power. Think before you click. Again, we get into trouble when we don't think. So whenever you click on an email, message, an attachment, or a website, be sure that's what you want to be doing. Take a few moments. And if you're in doubt, like I said before, contact the IT department to have them. We can scan and do some research for you fairly quickly to know if that is a legitimate website, attachment, link, things of that nature. Verify a site security. As I've said, when you're on a website, make sure there has an S on the end of the HTTP. Remember, the S is for security, and then there's a lock. This is a industry standard. If it does not have that, your information can be compromised, even if the website is not itself a illegitimate or criminal enterprise. If it is not secure, bad guys can often see that information you're transmitting. It's not encrypted. So anyone can see it in the middle and then use that information for their own devious schemes. And then check your online accounts regularly. And once a month or so forth, or even more often, check your checking account, your banking, your savings account, your credit cards. Make sure there's no suspicious activity on any of your accounts before it gets too late. Some more tips here for avoiding phishing scams is number 6, keep your browser up to date. When Microsoft tells you you have updates, or if you're using Google Chrome, if there's updates, always run those updates. They're not just to make sure your computer's running okay. That is one thing they are there for. But I would suggest over half of the updates you get are probably security updates. It's Microsoft or Apple or Google responding to threats they have seen, and they write code to deal with the new threats. Your computer is not protected from these new threats if they don't have the updates. So updates can be a pain. People complain about them all the time. So try to get in the habit of, when you're done working on your computer at home, this is for home because here we try to manage some of that for you. Make sure you check your updates. Make sure there's nothing pending. So check it a couple times a week. And then take the time to do it. Use firewalls. We have firewalls here, but at home, with your router, you have a Verizon or a Comcast router, or an off-the-shelf router that you can buy anywhere. Make sure the firewall is turned on. Make sure the passwords for the network are changed from the default passwords. A firewall can help you a lot with some blocking traffic coming and going. Again, be wary of pop-ups. Never give out your personal information. And always on your computer, make sure you have up-to-date antivirus software. Several years ago, I would have suggested going out and purchasing a good antivirus software, but today I'm suggesting using Microsoft Defender, which is built into your Windows 10 or Windows 11 computer. That antivirus program has become much better over the past few years. It's free, and along with your Microsoft updates, it's getting updated. You don't have to manage another program, and you can save yourself $50, $60, $70 a year by using what Microsoft is providing in the Windows operating system. Ransomware 101. This is something everyone, we all hear about this every day. And why do we hear about this every day? Is because it's happening. And why is it happening? Because people fall for these tricks. And these ransomware attacks are going to continue being a problem as long as organizations and people fall for them. So here's some information about ransomware. 1, ransomware attacks rely on seizing control of your data or devices, and then they lock that information, and then they start asking you for money. These attacks very often use phishing as their mode to get into your computer. Remember, phishing is just like sitting on a boat looking for, putting your rod out there. You're fishing for fish. Here they're fishing for victims, and they do that by pretending they're someone they're not, making you panic, asking you for personal information. And once they get that, you're in a lot of trouble. Human-operated ransomware is people out there trying to steal your credit card credentials, your computer network credentials, your company's credentials, your credit card information. And very common, and it's very successful, unfortunately. And here's some stories I just wanted to pass on. I'm not going to read these stories to you, but you can always pause this later and look at these, or just look them up in the news because they're fairly recent stories. So Kronos, much like ADP, they're a payroll management company. They were attacked in 2021, and in this case, the hackers held the victim's data and their information as ransom, and then I think Kronos paid money, and this disrupted the payroll system in hospitals across the United States. Another one was Colonial Pipeline. You might remember this. This was a big story last spring, summer, where this pipeline in Texas was actually shut down because of a ransomware attack. They had to take everything offline and stop pumping oil to try to stop this ransomware attack. And I think they paid about $5 million before they turned everything back on again. So they actually paid the ransomware, cost the company $5 million. People weren't, they had to divert oil from different locations to get people the oil they needed. And it was a big problem. This problem took place over a week or two, and $5 million later, the oil was flowing again. Another one, JBS USA. This is one of the biggest meat packing companies in North America and Australia, and they got shut down. They paid $11 million to get their meat packing business back in order. So very often these companies, the reason ransomware is so successful is because these big companies and even small companies, small police departments, small local governments, end up paying the money. And these ransomware criminals are very smart. They, if it was the borough of Westchester, they wouldn't ask for $5 million. They might ask for $1.2 million. They're only going to ask you what they think you can afford. And the more you can afford it, the more likely you are to do it, because you want it out of the news. You want to get your company back up and running. But there's a whole nother problem. When you pay ransomware, sometimes you get attacked again. So you really don't want to be in a position where you have to pay. Ransomware in the news again, local governments. In 2021, over 2,300 local governments and schools, healthcare providers were successfully ransomware attacked. I have here, more than 2,300 local government, schools, and healthcare organizations in the U.S. were affected by ransomware in 2021. 77 state and local governments and 1,043 schools were successfully infected with ransomware, which led to all kinds of problems, loss of money, downtime, building entirely new networks in some cases. Data breaches, once again, if your network is not secure and people are not using the best security protocols when they're working, you can get your data breached, stealing your information. If you remember, last summer, Wawa was attacked, and a big part of their customer database was stolen. I got some wrong information on here from a previous slide, but Wawa was attacked. Their data was stolen. It cost them $8 million in a settlement just the past month or two to pay up for all the customer information that was released. So if you're a customer of Wawa, your information is stolen, and then they're selling your information to all kinds of good and bad people. And so, class action lawsuit, they had to pay $8 million to the victims. So you don't want to be on the hook for that kind of money. So again, always be alert. Always read your email and text messages with caution. Every message should be read with caution. Remember, email and text messages are not emergencies. They do not require an immediate response. We are most vulnerable to making a mistake when we respond to messages quickly and without thinking. This is why cyber criminals often put panic messages. They want you to respond before you think about it. Remember, cyber criminals want you to respond quickly, so a sense of urgency is often included in their messaging. We don't think well when we're panicking. So avoid these common, then we're going to talk about passwords for a second. Okay, passwords are very important. We're always working on trying to make the password policies here at the borough better. We're adding things like multi-factor authentication. We're looking into things like passwordless accounts, not having a password, perhaps. I already have some personal accounts that actually has no password. Single sign-on is something that we're trying to always add to. So, but when it comes to passwords, both at home and at work, remember, try not to reuse the same password for any account. Stop avoiding using unique and creative passwords just for your important passwords. Meaning, you have your bank and you think you're doing a good job, and you are. You make a real good password, 18 characters, using a password manager. It's encrypted, and then you have your Facebook account, which you have a silly password. Bunny234 is your password for Facebook. And you go, hey, it doesn't matter, it's only Facebook. But what happens is when these accounts with these bad passwords get hacked, or your data is stolen, like the one in the Wawa breach we spoke about a while ago, is they now know that password is associated with your name and perhaps an email address. With that information, they will take your name and your email address, and they will check all kinds of banking institutions, credit card institutions, healthcare institutions, and they'll use your email and your name and that password as well, and try to find if you're using that anywhere else, or if there's any other way they can crack the password with your name and your email address. So the first thing is don't have your information stolen, and if it is stolen, make sure every account you have has a different password. So if Facebook's attacked, they steal your password, they're not going to find that same password on anything else. Not using password managers. This is something that I have been preaching for, it seems maybe a decade now. You should be using a password manager. For this particular class, for our cybersecurity efforts here, I'm always willing to do just a class just on password managers. I've done that, but it's been a couple years. Everyone should have a password manager. Everyone, I believe, should pay for a password manager. Pay $50 or $60 a year for a password manager like LastPass or any of its competitors. So you don't have to think about passwords. And it helps you create passwords. It creates them for you. You just say, hey, I want it to be 18 characters. I want it to have symbols and uppercase, lowercase, and numbers. And it will create the passwords for you. And they will all be unique. And the only password you need to remember is that password. And then you have a mobile app for it. You have it on your computer, be it your work and at home. And just think about all the time you would save not having to think about what password that was. What password did I use for that? And you have to think about it, you're wasting time. Then you have to do a password reset. So just think about the time that you would save while you're also being much more secure. So if anyone is interested in having a password manager class, let me know. I'd be glad to do one of those and help you set up a password manager. Of course, none of your passwords should include your street name, your husband or your wife's name, or your children's name, your pet's name. So these are things that get hacked right away. So you don't want any common names or anything like that in any of your passwords. They should all be unique and encrypted. Of course, whenever any organization you're working with, your bank account or your credit cards or anyone offers two-factor authentication, do not simply opt out of it. Take the time and opt in. You can have you can set it up pretty quickly. Some offer they can send you a text message with a PIN number. What I recommend is downloading an authenticator app. Google makes one and Microsoft makes one. They're the two most prominent ones. LastPass has one too. I recommend a Microsoft Authenticator. It's a free download. And all you do is when you many of these sites to set up your two-factor, they actually will have like a UPC code in that part of the setup. You scan it with your camera app, and it will open up your multi-authenticator application and insert that account into there. So when you go to log in on your credit card or your bank account, you just have to look at that authenticator app and you'll put in that PIN number. You don't have to get a text message. So that's definitely do not opt out if companies are request or offering multi-factor. They're actually doing something they don't tend to do, and that is spend money and time by giving more security options to their customers. The only reason they've begun doing this is because of the success of cybercrime, ransomware, data breaches. This is why they're doing this, because all these companies have had financial problems because they've been hacked, information stolen, they're having to pay for it. So now they're starting to offer multi-factor authentication, and everyone should take them up on that. I think in my personal accounts, I probably have 20 that are using the multi-factor authentication and using that Microsoft app. Password managers. One last thing on password managers is with a password manager, you do not have to remember strong and unique passwords for all of your accounts. The password manager stores this information and it helps you generate new ones. Password managers commonly reside on your personal computer and or your mobile device. the best password managers, like LastPass, your password information is not stored on their servers. It's only stored on your devices. So even if they were to be hacked, they would have your name and email address and whatever information you may have in your account, but they will not have your passwords. So it's stored locally, which is incredibly important. And there are free password managers out there, and there are ones like LastPass have a free version. You, this is great, so you can get used to the idea of it and learn the system. But you're going to want to pay for the password manager because there are a lot of features that you're just not going to get with the free version. But it is an entry point, and that's why most of them offer a free version of their password manager. So a couple of things here. We have recently began doing live PHISHLINE testing here. I've maybe done 9 of these, and we can do email messages that are fake phishing messages. We can do fake text messages. We've done this as well, and we can target them for the entire organization, and we can get a little more specific, and we can target individual departments and kind of word the messaging based on the department to kind of try to trick you even more. I believe this testing is important because it helps people can always think about cybersecurity. You know, no one wants to get tricked, especially by their CIO, and be successful. So we do this once or twice a month, trying to target specific departments. We're not doing as much as we did when we first set it up. So here's an example of our first time, some of our latest campaigns. You can see here, these are 112 messages sent, how many messages written, and how many here were successful, that the receiver actually clicked on the message. And you can see here we're doing text messaging now as well. And what this really does is, in addition to keeping the staff on their toes, it allows us to talk to an individual specifically about a message, and it fosters us going out aggressively and communicating with everyone, not in a way to scorn anyone, but to educate in a very positive way. Remember, all these things you do here, you can take home and protect your own information as well. But this is what the campaigns look like on the backside for management. And here's just an example of our dashboard the other day. This is the year so far, 923 attacks this year. These are legitimate attacks, and these aren't the ones that we have to go in and clean up that didn't happen. Like, I would say our cybersecurity defenses stop about 90% and does a really good job using artificial intelligence, but no system is perfect. So we monitor it. Many of you report suspicious messages to us, and that's all in addition to what you see here. Domain fraud, this is where someone gets a hold of one of our email addresses and tries to sign in. The other day, or maybe about a month ago, one of our accounts, Barracuda stopped it because they were trying to log into the Microsoft account from, I think, Mexico. And we knew that employee was not in Mexico, so we were able to stop that attack before anything happened. So that's pretty cool. And here are some sample messages that have been stopped from our system. You can just see, just because it says security info, let's delete it. Asking you to review your account, do not do that. That is not how it will occur if it happens here. When I talked to you about that account takeover in Mexico, we could see that on the back end as a potential fraud. We contacted that employee. That employee was safe and sound at home in Westchester, not in Mexico. So we knew that was not a legitimate attempt. Somehow that email address got out there, but nothing bad happened. They couldn't get into our account, and we blocked it. Here's another one. You know, very basic. You know, here's the caller information. This listen link does not go to an audio file. It tries to download a file onto the computer. Here's another one. Now, I talk about nonsense messaging. When you see things like this, where it just doesn't make any sense, just delete the message. If it were to come to your box, or report it to IT so we can see if it went anywhere else. But I would venture most people would not respond to that. Here's another one. It's just all this, another one, they like to say it's a voicemail. They want you to click listen to the voicemail. People want to hear it, right? That's been become pretty popular lately, is the fake voicemails. We all have this curiosity to want to know who's calling us. That's, so do not respond to that if you see that. And I said all of these did not get through. They were stopped by the system. So very simply, if this is very important, if the email is unsolicited and from an unknown sender, you have no obligation to respond. Every email or text message should be treated with caution and thought before responding. If you're a boss or your manager sending you a very rare message, walk over or call to their office or call them. You're almost always going to find that it wasn't your manager, or it was a phishing email. Some of them won't get through for a few moments, so always use caution when someone's trying to spoof a name you do know. And if you feel the message may be authentic, respond externally, as I just said. If you think it could be legitimate, either close that email that person directly, or my goodness, pick up the phone and call them. If they're in the building, walk over to the office and say, hey, Bill, did you send me this message? You're not obligated to respond to these messages, even though they might want you to think you are. Okay, before I finish up, we did this a couple years ago. We did not do it last year, but we will do it this year. I've already signed up with the federal government to be one of the organizations that are participating. There's no cost to the borough to do this. And that is October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. This is a chance for organizations to do a month-long campaign without taking any time up from you guys for good cybersecurity training on a day-to-day basis. And that is through messaging, informative activities, and some special information I'll be presenting on a regular basis. And then we will do cybersecurity training at the end of October, and we can evaluate some of the stuff we learned. I forget what the topic is. There is a specific topic this year. I didn't put that on here. They like to, each October they focus on a different cyber security topic, and we will follow that program. They actually, because I'm signed up, we get a packet of day-to-day information to send out to staff. We can customize it so it makes sense for the borough of Westchester. So I'm really looking forward to October being Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Put it in your calendars. It's a very important activity all month long. So, because this is a recording, I can't answer your questions. Be sure to send me emails, call me, stop by the office. I'd rather talk to you than send your messages through email. With any questions you have about security at all, it can be a home-related message, something that's affecting you at home or a question you have. So there you go. So I hope everybody has a good day, and stay cyber safe. And here comes October for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Talk to you soon.